Hi everyone, we're going to get started here in a few minutes. In the interim, go ahead and feel free to answer the poll question that you'll see up on the screen, and we will begin promptly at 5 after the hour. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Once again, thank you for joining us. Like I mentioned previously, we're going to go ahead and get started in about 5 minutes, promptly at 5 after the hour. In the interim, go ahead and submit your answer for the poll question you see on the screen. Thank you. Hi, everyone. This is the last reminder to please submit the poll question that you see on your screen, and we'll begin promptly in 2 minutes. That's 2 minutes. Thank you. And this is your last chance to submit your answer to the poll. And we're closing it in 5 seconds. And the poll is now closed. Hola, Ship Familia, and welcome to today's latinXfactor webinar, How to Be a Success on Day 1. My name is Esther Gonzalez, and I will be your moderator. I work on the SHIP programs team here, and I'm excited to be hosting today's session. I'm pleased to introduce today's speaker, Joshua Pascoe. Josh Pascoe is currently the Vice President of Talent Acquisition for Honeywell Aerospace, responsible for staffing and inclusion and diversity for this global business. He has worked with Honeywell for over 20 years in a number of HR roles throughout the United States. He is originally from Canada and a graduate of McGill University and a fellow alum of Cornell University, Go Big Red. Before I hand the mic over to Josh, I have a few housekeeping items to cover about this presentation and the latinXfactor webinar platform. First, today's webinar will be available on demand after the live session and will be accessible through the SHIP website. If you have a question for our speaker, please feel free to send it through the Ask a Question box. We'll be answering questions at the end of the session if time permits. If we don't get to your question during today's webinar, we will be sure to follow up afterward. And lastly, we'd like to encourage you to share today's webinar with your social networks, including but not limited to Facebook and LinkedIn. So without any further ado, I'd like to kick things off by welcoming our speaker, Josh Pascoe. Josh, over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to tonight's discussion. Let me put my presentation into, make this a little bigger for everyone to see. So I'm really excited to talk about how to be a success on day one. I think it's a really important topic. My job, I'm the talent acquisition leader, so I spend all my days focused on staffing and hiring. And I think it's really important that we think about, once that hire happens, how do we make sure where people are coming into, whether it's Honeywell or whatever company you're going to, and whether it's for an internship or full-time, how do we make sure people are getting themselves set up for success? Obviously, the first step in the process is getting the job offer, but it's really important that people are equipped to be successful once they join. We just went over a few of my, a little bit of my background. I am based in Phoenix, Arizona. Probably see the sun behind me. It continues to be over 100 degrees every day here in Phoenix. I have been with Honeywell for about 20 years now. I actually joined as a summer intern and then full-time once that happened. And I've been leading the talent acquisition team for about 2 years and responsible end-to-end for staffing, recruiting, and inclusion diversity for our aerospace business. For those that aren't familiar with Honeywell, we are a Fortune 50 company. We've been around for, we actually just celebrated 100 years on this, the Dow Jones recently. We're truly an industrial, a multi-industry company. I'm here in Phoenix where we do our aerospace business. We're in space, we're on parts of airplanes. We have a building technologies business based out of Atlanta. Really focusing on high-tech buildings, safety, security. Performance materials and technologies is our chemical side of the business. And then we have a safety and productivity solutions business. This is actually a business that's been particularly busy the last 6 months. They do N95 masks. So we have a few facilities that make masks that are helping with the COVID. They do safety, productivity products for workers to keep them safe in the different work environments. We are truly a sort of a software industrial company. We definitely make lots of parts and products, so anything from engines to face masks, but we do it with a lot of underlying software and are really a solutions-based business as well. We are very global in nature and very engineering focused. So we have 18,000 engineers worldwide, 9,000 of them, roughly half are software developers. We have over 100 different research and engineering facilities across the globe, and we're particularly proud of the patents and the work that we do from an innovation perspective. I would be remiss before I talk about this presentation if I didn't just put in a plug for Honeywell. We are looking forward to being at the SHIP conference in next month, and we have some information on our website about how you can apply for jobs. So that's, as a talent acquisition leader, I think I have to sort of talk about these things. So I want to kind of transition to the discussion now. How does someone successful when they join a new company? I think this is going to be a conversation about internships for those that are looking for work next summer, for those that are full-time. So you might be joining a company full-time, whether that's in January, whether that's in May, June after you graduate, or even for those that are already employed and are going to be taking their next role. I think there's really a lot to think about in terms of how do you make yourself successful and how are you prepared for day one. So I'll start with really kind of 6 key steps, things to think about. So once you sign the offer letter, you're excited. If it's a summer internship, we could be talking 6 months from now when you're going to start the job. If it's a full-time job, we could be talking 2 weeks, 4 weeks. But there is really some good preparation that you can do so that when you come into the office, you're more comfortable, you can hit the ground running, and you've established some of those positive relationships. The first thing, learn about your company. So you probably knew enough to get through an interview, and you're able to understand a little bit about the job, and you've met your manager. But really do spend some time before you join the company learning about them. What's the broad range of what the work they do? Where are they located? How many employees? What are the new products? Who are the customers? There's a lot of information available. You can look at the individual companies' websites. You can look at things like Yahoo Business News, and you can look at a lot of different social media. You can read about the company on LinkedIn. You can read about the company on Glassdoor. But it's really important to understand who are you joining, what's the broader picture. And I think this is very helpful because you may be coming in as a mechanical engineer, a position in, one end of the business, but you want to understand kind of where you fit into the larger part of the business. What are the products you're going to be working on and things like that. So, if you reach out to your network, a lot of universities have alumni networks. See if there's someone that works at the company that you're joining. Reach out to that individual, get a little bit of information about the culture, about the business that they're in. Obviously, I just mentioned visit the external sites and social media, and just try to learn about the company you're joining. It really will make you understand more as you join on day one. Second, and I think this is very important as well, try to learn more about your boss, meet your boss, talk to your boss. In a number of cases, and we try to do this at Honeywell, we try to make sure the bosses are proactive in reaching out to the new hires. But even if that doesn't happen, I'd encourage any one of you, if you're moving to a new job, starting with a new company, reach out to your boss, learn a little bit about them. Try to see if there's anything you need to do to be prepared for day one. Make sure you've arranged for what the meeting schedule is on day one. Connect with them on LinkedIn. But it's just helpful to know who you're working with. And I think it also leaves a very positive message with your new leader. You're not just going to show up on day, in 2 weeks and start with them. You've reached out, try to see if there's anything you need to do. So just really important early on in the relationship to establish that communications and start working with the new leader. Get to know your team members. Sometimes you can do this before day one. Sometimes you obviously have to wait till day one. But try to learn a little bit more about who you're going to be working with. Are they local? The facility you're going to be at, the site you're at? Are they going to be a remote team? Who are they? Whether it's before you start, if you know the names of the people, whether it's on day one, send an introductory email, reaching out to them. But focus on establishing that positive relationship with your new team up front. Most of these individuals will likely be resources that you need. It's perfectly normal in a new job that you're going to ask a lot of questions. You're going to need help. How do you find stuff? Where do you go? Things like that. So try to establish those relationships early on with your coworkers. Most coworkers are very happy to help people. I think some are very good about being proactive. Others may need to be asked. But I think you'll find kind of wherever you go, your coworkers are going to be very, very helpful. But just build that relationship early. Personal preparation. So try to take care of personal appointments in advance to ensure you're ready for first day. All companies, including Honeywell, we know people have appointments. We know people have lives outside of work, so it's not a problem if you have appointments that you have to go take care of. Sometimes you'll have trips planned out 2 or 3 months. That might be an annual trip that you go on. Those things are fine, occasional vacation day, but do try as much as you can to take care of some of these things in advance. Just doesn't leave that best impression on your new boss or the company if in the second week you're already missing time for different appointments. Understand life happens. It's not saying it's a problem if you do need some appointments, but particularly if you're going to be a summer intern and you have 2 weeks off before you start from school or 1 week off, try to get some of those appointments done in advance. Currently, a lot of us are working from home. You can see where I am in my study at my house. But if you are going to work at home, get set up. Try to have it ready to go, so you ensured you have the right internet access. You've got as quiet a place as you can possibly work. If you go into the office, get prepared to go to the office. If you know where you're going to work, it's one thing to drive there on Saturday afternoon without traffic. It's a different thing to try to get there at 8 a.m. on a Monday morning. Try to get there during a commute time. See how long it's going to take. It'll make you feel more relaxed. It'll make you get to work on time. You generally want to try to show up 10, 15 minutes early on the first day, just so you're ready to go. If you're going to start at 8, you don't want to be, leaving the impression on your manager that your, time's not important. You show up at 8:30. It seems like sort of a small thing, but just, know what your routine is. Be prepared. For those that are just finishing school, it is a different sort of routine, going into the office every day. So just make sure you're set up to be ready for that. This is just a recommendation of a book, The First 90 Days. It does help talk about how to make yourself successful as you start a new job. Complete all onboarding tasks. Honeywell, like a lot of companies, there's probably a number of things you have to do in advance. You have to take a medical test or a drug screen, complete a background check. There's forms to fill out. Whether it's right in advance or when the first week on the job, you have to get a 99 form completed. But just make sure you do as much of this as possible so that when you arrive on day one, you can get your system access set up. The company's ordered the computer. Just to give kind of, for those that don't maybe know what goes on behind the scene, all that information that your new company collects on you and needs, it's really to help get you set up on day one. You want to have a computer ordered for you, want to have a cubicle or an office space set up, want to make sure if you need a cell phone, they've ordered it. And that's really dependent upon completing all these different parts of the onboarding process. So just make sure you're ready to go. Ask your manager. If your company has a staffing organization like myself, if your company has onboarding teams, just make sure you're all ready to go on day one. And then probably the most important thing, a lot of the other stuff is logistics and getting ready. Have a positive mindset. I think you want to look at this as an exciting new opportunity, whether it's you're staying with you're in a current company and you're taking a new job within that company, might be moving to a new location, whether it's your summer internship, whether it's a full-time job. Come in thinking positively. Have confidence in yourself about what you can deliver to the company. So just make sure you're sort of excited and ready to go. That positive attitude really carries a lot of weight. So really wanted to kind of highlight, a lot of work could go in to being ready for day one. I've been with Honeywell, as I said, for 20 years. So, I still do remember when I started my full-time job in New Jersey 20 years ago and kind of how nervous I was going into the office, trying to get set up with my boss, make sure I had all my right system access and stuff like that. But I do think, being prepared really can help make that a smoother experience. I will pause for a second. We just wanted to do one quick polling question.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and launch this poll here. So if everyone can take about 30 seconds, go ahead and submit your vote. The poll is now live. About 10 more seconds here. Please go ahead and make sure that you vote. And we're closing the poll in 5 seconds. Some votes still coming in here. Okay, and the poll is now closed. And here are our results, Josh.
I'm sure it's just me, I'm not seeing the results. Do you mind just reading out the results?
Oh, sure, yeah. So the question was, what is the one most important thing to do in the first month in your new job? And it looks like 5%, so the least popular answer was meet regularly with your manager. The most popular manager was work with your manager to create clear goals at just over 50%. About a quarter of our participants today believe it's getting to know your coworkers, and roughly about 20% believe it's identifying a mentor. So I'm going to go and hide those results now.
Great. Yeah, I
Over to you.
think I would tend to agree with how the sort of the majority voted. I think all of them are important items. You do want to have that contact with your manager. You know, your coworkers can really help you be successful. I do think clear objectives really are helpful. So that is definitely something to consider. You know, one of the interesting things I learned kind of early in my career, I had just taken probably my second job working at a manufacturing site in Richmond, Virginia. I was going to be an HR generalist. There was a team of about 5 of us. I'm on sort of my first week on the job, and the request comes from my manager. I'd like to take a look at all of the open jobs that we're looking to staff at the site. Okay, so I think that's great. That's a simple standard request to go look at. I just need to pull together some data, summarize it, and share it. So I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't know how things are done at this site. So, you know, how would I go solve this problem? Well, there's 10 different managers that I work with. I'll just go email or reach out to them individually. They'll tell me what jobs they have. I'll create an Excel presentation or spreadsheet and summarize it. So I went and did that, and it wasn't the easiest thing to complete. It's a little tedious, right? Not like everyone was just sitting around their desk waiting for me to call them. But it takes me 2 days. I summarize the data and I present it to my manager. And the response is, this is good, but why didn't you just run the report out of the admin office? We have someone who tracks all these requisitions. They would have just run you the report and you could have presented that to me. So I, of course, felt really stupid. So I just went and spent a lot of time pulling together data, and there was an automated solution that probably would have taken me about 5 minutes. And my lesson here was, you really don't necessarily know a lot on day one, so you might as well ask. Whether that's me going back and thinking, sure, I'd be happy to get that data. Is there a specific place that I can get the data easily here? Or do you have any recommendations? Sometimes if you don't want to ask your boss, I could have asked a coworker. You know, I got asked to pull this request. Do you know where to get the data? But it's been sort of a learning that I've had, and while I've been with Honeywell for 20 years, this is probably my 8th or 9th job now, so I've had the opportunity to move around a lot and take on different challenges. But that's kind of always stuck with me, is just accept that in the beginning, you're not going to know all the answers. So, you know, you can either persevere and through brute force try to get it done, or you can just ask for help, ask some simple questions, and make notes to know what to do next time. So with that, so the first 30 days, I think we talked first about how to get ready to join the company. Equally important is now that you are working for the company full time. I think all of these things apply whether you're looking for a summer internship next year, whether this is your first job out of college full time, or whether, like my example, you're just transferring to a new job. So here are some tips. Highlight the first one in green. Identify a mentor, a buddy, a sponsor. There's a lot of different terms. Some companies have very formal mentoring programs. Some companies have informal mentoring programs. But really the idea behind this is have someone outside of your boss and your coworkers that you can really talk to and get advice from, can help both kind of coach you and advise you in your current job, help you think about future roles, can be a sounding board if you're having any problems. But it's really helpful to have someone there that you can reach out to talk to. At Honeywell, we try to do a little bit of both. We'll often, for our summer interns, have a mentor, someone early in their career who's maybe been with Honeywell for 3, 4, 5 years that reaches out to the students in the summer. When people join full time, mentoring can be a little bit more informal, where it's really more person and leader dependent that they get set up with the mentoring system. But I've almost never seen a case, either at Honeywell or at other companies, if someone asks for a mentor or wants a bit of a coach, that the company will be absolutely happy to help, and that whoever you ask almost always is willing. But it's really helpful to have someone you can turn to ask questions, have probably gone through what you're doing, and can help direct you in the right place. So I strongly encourage having a mentor, a buddy. There's nothing wrong with asking. If a company doesn't mention it, just ask your manager, is there anyone you think might be a good mentor for me? I'd like to have someone I could talk with. This was on the polling question, regular meetings with your managers. I do think it's important early on to make sure you have that regular interaction. You're getting feedback. It varies by managers. Some managers are very good with this. They'll give you lots of feedback. You'll get, whether it's after you submit work, whether it's kind of on a weekly or daily basis, they will give you that feedback. Others you really have to sort of reach out to and try to get more proactively. But do just make sure you have that regular meeting. If your manager doesn't set it up for you, by all means, just ask, can we meet once a week, just so I can go through what I'm working on. But just have that regular cadence with your manager. It is really critical to get feedback real time. You don't want to be surprised. You also want the opportunity to give them help. Don't assume that the fact that you work for them, that they know everything you're working on, right? In most companies, there's some level of decentralization, there's different projects. So this is a good opportunity for you to highlight what you're working on. I do think the third one around clear goals and objectives is really critical. You got hired to do a specific job. The company's investing time and money in having you come in. Make sure it's very clear what they want. And that sounds, again, obvious, but it's not always clear what is expected. So, I tend to ask my managers when I start, what are you looking for in the first 90 days? What are the hot items or critical items you want me to focus on? And this really helps me understand what I need to be working on, make sure if I'm getting other work that's not aligned to that, I can have a conversation with them. But really make sure you know what is expected of you in the first 6 months. Ask questions, checking that the work is correct. No one expects you to know everything on the first day. If you're with a new company, there's a lot of policies, process probably already in place. You need to find out where those are. You need to ask questions about them. So really don't be shy. I think one of the big mistakes I've seen people make is they try to do too much themselves. They try to think they have all the right answers, and they don't ask for help necessarily when they need it. For example, for Honeywell is we're a very large manufacturing company spread across the US. There's almost anything we think of from a process perspective, a system perspective, there's probably been someone who's done work on it already. So I can either reinvent the wheel and try to start everything beginning, or I can ask, has this been done before? Complete all required learning. Most companies have training you need to in the first 30 days, 90 days, first year. Make sure you're compliant. It just helps make sure you've got everything done. Those are in place for a reason. Network. And that kind of started with before you join the company, just meet people. Know who your coworkers are. Know who their coworkers are. Make sure you know the broader team. Almost everyone loves to talk about themselves and what they do. So if you ask someone for 15 minutes of time because you'd like to understand what their job is, how do they get to be the manager, almost most people, as long as they're not too busy that day, you schedule time with them, almost everyone will share that information with you. So I strongly encourage you to sort of network, learn about people, learn about the type of work the company does. This will really help you be successful in the beginning and help you sort of navigate the company, but also helps you think about your future career opportunities. And then the last point I have on this page is about the resources available. Most big companies have a lot of things already in place. For example, employee networks. Honeywell has a Black employee network. We will be launching a Hispanic employee network. We have a women's employee network. We have lots, and then there's a lot of our sites also have different activities and clubs in place. It really helps to know what exists. It will help give you a feeling of belonging, can help you meet other people at the site, at the location you're working at. So just make sure to spend time. I think those are often a very underutilized resource at companies. So really just think about, and these are just tips. Obviously, some companies are very formal, other companies are more informal, but just things to think about as you join the workforce that can help you get up and running more successfully. The next couple of slides, I just kind of want to highlight some things to be aware of. They're not that there's an absolute, don't do this or do this, but I think it's, particularly if you're a student making the transition into a full-time workplace, whether it's as an intern or full-time hire, I just kind of want to highlight things to think about because there is a difference between the workplace and school. On the left side, humor. There's nothing wrong with telling jokes. I tend to be very sarcastic. I do like to laugh at the job. Most people want to feel comfortable and can have humor in the job, and it can help as you build relationships. But you do have to be very thoughtful about this. This isn't jokes with a good friend. This is workplace humor. Know the right time. Know the audience. The question is, if you ever ask your questions, I don't ask yourself, I'm not sure if this is if I should say this at work. The answer is probably no. You shouldn't say it at work. So know the audience. Know when to stop. So be able to read the audience, and then also be very careful about never making someone else the object of the humor. It's okay to poke fun at yourself if you make a mistake. You don't know something. You can tell a joke about being the new person. I'm not know where to go, but you never want to direct that humor at somebody else. So again, there's no restriction on humor. You just want to be thinking about it as you go into the workplace. You want to understand the culture and the environment and who you're talking with. The next one is on the right side about drinking. Obviously not on the job, but a lot of companies will have social activities. There might be a happy hour after work once a month. There might be business dinners, depending on your job, you could travel. So just kind of want to highlight this. First and foremost, always do what you're comfortable with. There's never a requirement to drink if that's not what you personally choose to do. I've been with Honeywell for many years. We have lots of employees that don't drink, and that's perfectly acceptable. And there's never a reason for them to feel like they have to join in. So I do just want to stress that. If you do drink, that's also fine if it's within the company culture and there's an event, but just always watch, how much you drink, how frequently you drink. This isn't about what you do on your personal time. That's absolutely your own business. But if you are having a drink while at a happy hour or on a business dinner, you are still sort of reflecting the company you work for. So you just want to think about it. Again, this is just sort of advice sort of in the first as you join a new company. The next part is about email. You can also add in texting. You can add in calling. For a lot of companies, email still is very popular, so you'll have to be good at it. You'll learn quickly sort of the company culture. Some companies and some leaders are very email focused, so they're going to do 90% of their activities through email. Other companies would prefer to have meetings, so you'll learn a little bit about that company culture and what you want to do. But just think about good ip etiquette and think about, at any given day, I get 200 emails. It's really hard if they're all really long or they're all confusing. So just think about keep it short, factual, to the point. Don't always assume that the person, if you've been on an email trail this is just my pet peeve, but if there's an email trail and now I'm getting added to the email trail at the end, don't make me read through the 25 emails that were already sent on the subject. Summarize it for me. Josh, we're sending this email to you. Here are the 3 things that are an issue, or we need your opinion. Keep your emails professional and avoid slang. I do joke a lot. I'm very sarcastic. I'm almost never sarcastic in emails because the tone doesn't come through in an email. You're not sure the person's reaction. So keep your emails very professional. Try to avoid slang, things like that. You know, also, again, some of this corporate company culture, treat this like you would a phone call. Normally, you wouldn't start a phone call and just start talking, say, hi, this is Josh. I'd like to, or hi, Bob, how are you today? Hi, Linda, how are you today? So just have that conversation about, keeping the emails polite. Read over your emails before you send it. This really just helps embarrassment. I've sent many emails where I've had spelling mistakes. I've had clearly things that don't make sense. I've hit send too soon and I haven't included the attachment. All those things are fine, but in terms of presenting that professional image, the less of them you can do is very helpful. So always read over the email. Always make sure it comes across professionally before I hit send. Do remember, emails aren't confidential. If you send me an email, I easily have the ability to forward it. That's just how systems are designed. So think about what you're writing and who else might see this. And then again, back to some of the other stuff. Don't be negative. Don't forward jokes. Again, what you do outside of work is fine. You have friends, you email jokes back and forth. That's all great. Don't bring that into the workplace. And then just make sure kind of you're keeping email, personal and work email separate. So, and then social media. This is an important one and kind of continues to evolve. I have just a couple of thoughts and pieces of advice of it. One is do try to keep your personal social media separate from what you do at work. There is nothing wrong with having a Facebook account, a Twitter account, any of those types of social media networks that you want to leverage. By all means, have an account, but think about keeping that separate. Don't invite a lot of work colleagues onto it. Just think about what you're doing on the social media. But again, social media is great. People use it in their personal lives all the time. There's nothing wrong with that, but just try to keep it personal. Also remember, a lot of workplaces will have some of their own social media. So we have Yammer, we have different tools within Honeywell. Other companies are the same. Just, again, keep in mind what you're posting. And just my best advice on social media is just remember it's not private, right? Most of the stuff, if you're on public networks and things like that, whether it's on the work or on your personal, things aren't private. So just be sensitive to what you do. Again, nothing wrong with social media. It's perfectly acceptable. I'm guessing I've never pulsed this, but I'm pretty sure almost everyone I work with has a Facebook account, and there's nothing wrong with that. But just making sure you're keeping the personal separate from work, and that kind of applies to both email and social media. And then just sort of, I was trying to think about kind of how to summarize this, and thinking about, if I'm giving advice, all of you, I'm assuming, are joining this because you're going to look to get an internship, a full-time job, switch jobs, things like that. Just things to think about to be successful as you start the new jobs. One, be yourself. And I really did put this first. I really do want to highlight this. This is Honeywell. This is all companies. We're hiring you for your experiences, for your background, for the person that you are. Now, we want to make sure you feel comfortable being yourself in the workplace. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't follow some of the social norms in the workplace. I like to wear t-shirts at home. My company is business casual. I dress more appropriately when I go into the office. So I'm not saying that you don't make slight adjustments, but fundamentally, we're hiring people because of what they're bringing to the job, your experiences, your work experience, your life experiences, your education. So make sure you stay true to that. And you don't want to work for a company that doesn't allow that. As I've already talked about, ask questions. You really do want to learn as much as you can. Volunteer. There's, when your boss is looking for support on a new project, new help, be eager, be the person that volunteers. We've talked about networking, just making sure you get to meet a lot of people. as we talked about right at the beginning, and it's the work you start before, understand your business, understand your role, understand how your role fits in the business. So, if you're an engineer and you're designing, certain parts, understand what the product those go on to. Who's the customer that you sell to? Is it a growing market, a declining market? Really make sure you really understand the business. Learn about the company resources. I put number 7 on because I just don't want to lose sight of it. It's generally good advice for everyone, but be the person that meets commitments. We sort of joke about it at Honeywell. It's we call it say do, and does the person have a high say do ratio? But we do. It matters. If you say I'm going to submit some, you get a directive. I need something due on Thursday. Have it due on Thursday. If you're not going to meet that, obviously talk, but be the person that can be relied on to meet the commitments. We've talked about having goals with your manager. You really want to know and ensure that you're focusing on the right stuff. Listen and learn. Every meeting you attend, email trails are on. Those are opportunities for you to learn about company culture, what work is getting done, how things get done, stuff like that. And then and still have fun, right? I mean, there's stressful days on any job. Can be very challenging to learn a new company, learn a new business. Some of you might be starting jobs in new locations you haven't lived before. All that adds stress, but do try to make sure you're enjoying the job. You're getting your education, you're focusing on industries that you want. So you want to make sure you're really getting that enjoyment out of the job. On the don't side, a lot of these are fairly self-evident. One, don't panic. It is almost inevitable at some point in the first month, you will make a mistake. You'll send an email to the wrong person. You will present something to your manager that's not correct. You will, look at the wrong data, whatever it might be. This happens. This is normal. We want people to learn. We want people who can correct, but it's perfectly normal to make a mistake early on in any new job. All managers are going to be understanding of that. Flip side of that is don't assume you know everything. You need to make sure you're asking questions, you're checking on the work. The one thing I didn't mention, I think is a good piece of advice, find out who previously did your job. So if you're coming into a new role, ask who was the prior person. That person's still with the company, learn about it. Try to get a better understanding of the job. Number 3 is pretty obvious. The way to succeed at the job is to start with being on the job. So do try to make sure you're as present as possible. Again, everyone has personal situations arise, people get sick, but do try to make that effort to be very visible and in person. Don't spend time on social media. There's introverts, there's extroverts. That's no problem. I, by nature, am an introvert. I like quiet. I have to force myself to reach out and talk to more people. But it is important early on, especially that you're not too shy. You do want to talk to your coworkers. You do want to learn about what they're doing. You do want to have lunch with them. You do want to have that regular communication. So, to whatever degree you're comfortable, make sure you're not too shy. Make sure you are talking and communicating. Don't wait until the last minute to ask for help. Something's due on Friday and you're struggling with it. Reach out to your manager today. Reach out to a coworker today. Don't wait till Friday morning. And then don't expect perfect results. Probably one of the biggest changes that many of you will experience when you go from classroom to the workplace is, we're used to taking tests, writing papers. We work really hard. We can find the answers. We can study a little harder, and you can work towards that 100%. There's almost no perfect results. I'm 20 years into my career now. I've done probably 1,000 presentations, and every time I do a presentation, I get corrected on, here's what you should look at. Why don't you consider this? So you just don't expect that perfection. If some of you may have seen that early on in school, but that's just not going to be realistic in the workplace. So I just kind of want to help you think about what do you do, what do you not do, as you join a new company, as you take on a new role. And then just my closing thoughts, and I think this applies to internships, full-time, transfers to new jobs, promotions, all that stuff. One, be present. So make sure you're taking every opportunity to meet people, talk with your manager, learn about the business. Be positive. Doesn't mean ignore facts. It doesn't mean don't raise issues, but be the person who the cup is half full. Here's how I think we can solve this issue versus just bringing forward problems. I'll be flexible. I think that the COVID-19 unfortunately has sort of helped ingrain this to a lot of people. We had in Honeywell great plans and a few hundred interns all set up to join our sites and come into the workplace. We had work set aside for them, and then we quickly pivoted in April and said we think this all needs to be virtual. And that created a different experience, and in some cases, obviously there were certain pieces of the job that couldn't be done. But what we really liked out of our summer interns and kind of the people that were most successful were those that were flexible. Yep, it changed. Now here's what I can do to make it successful. Be active, volunteer, get feedback on your boss, be proactive, and then kind of, I think the last point is really relevant. You own your career when you come into the company. So there are going to be a lot of resources. People like myself in human resources. I'm a talent acquisition leader. My job is to help people find jobs. So I'm a resource. You'll have a manager, you'll have peers, you'll have a mentor, but really you own your destiny. You want to be successful, you want to get promoted, work hard, do a good job, reach out to people. So really just focus on, taking charge of your career, being successful in the job. And then I think my last slide is, this is not by no means exhaustive. I mentioned kind of the first 90 days. It's a book by Michael Watkins, but really just a couple other websites and articles you can look at. There's a lot of information out there. Even if you look at sites like Glassdoor, Indeed, they'll have information about how to be successful. If you're graduating from school, a lot of your career sites, internal career service, at your university will have information, but just spend time up front to make yourself comfortable and learn how to be a success when you join. So I really do appreciate the participation. I'm looking forward to doing some Q&A, but I do think this is an important topic. We spend a lot of time focusing on finding the perfect job. I suspect all of you have done some type of interview training. You've been taught about how to answer questions, all that stuff. And all that's really great, but you also have to pivot to how can I be successful when I get to the new company? What will make me successful? What will make me stand out? So I really appreciated the opportunity to go over this material, and I'm happy to open it up for questions.
Thank you so much, Josh. We do have quite a few questions here. And so we'll just kick it off. The first question, and I'd be remiss to not ask it first, is will Honeywell be at the SHIP National Convention?
Absolutely, we will be at the SHIP National Convention. We have been there, I think, for 8 or 10 years, at least in a row. We're very active and are thrilled to be there. We will have all of our jobs posted on the Honeywell.co. We have a specific webpage set aside for SHIP, so you can see our opportunities. But we will be there. We're multiple businesses, my aerospace business, our chemical business, all of us will be hiring there. So we definitely look forward to meeting you there.
Wonderful. And that question was from Horacio, and Shubham asked a follow-up question, which I think you answered, and that's how can I network or look for job opportunities related to SHIP before the event? And it sounds like you have a custom web page, right?
We do have a custom web page. So yeah, so if you go to hwll.co/SHIP, you'll be able to see the different positions that we'll bring into the conference.
Great, great. The next question that we have is, how could you, I think this is a really great question, especially with your line of work, Josh, is could you provide some tips on how to get close to a not so inclusive team?
How to get close to a not so inclusive team?
Yes, that's the way the question was worded. That's from Carla Montoya.
Yeah, this can be a challenge for many people. Someone on this phone, candidly, will go to a company that is not the most diverse in its makeup, in appearances, and I think that's that definitely can be uncomfortable. So I think that is a reality. What I would suggest and what I would say is, one, don't let that get you down. I mean, most companies, and Honeywell included, are focused on getting better. So, I think we do a good job at Honeywell on inclusion diversity, but I by no means think that we've done a good job. So, assume the company you're working with and for is trying to improve on this. The second part, what I would say is, um, you know, try to focus on what the similarities are versus what are the differences then. So absolutely, Kenley, you might be the only Hispanic employee on that team. You might be, depending on the types of locations, it might be a smaller site. So you may not see other people that look like yourself, but that doesn't mean there's not other early career people. So are there other, whether it's interns or early career full-time people? That doesn't mean that there's not other people with similar interests. So try as you build the bridges and network, try to find opportunities for that inclusion so that you don't necessarily feel as separate. And then the other part I would mention is, particularly for bigger companies, try to look at what other resources they might have. So there might not be a lot of other Hispanic employees at your location, but there might be a Hispanic employee network that you can join and participate in. So those would be a couple of my thoughts.
Wonderful. Thank you for answering that. And Carla Montoya, she did type in a comment, very great advice, and thank you so much. The next question that we have comes from Yvonne, and she asks, given the current situation, what is the best way to network in a virtual setting?
Yeah, it's a good question. So obviously it's hard to go in, it's hard to have coffee with people, it's hard to have meetings. The one thing that I'll be honest, I resisted initially when we started working from home in COVID. I think video is really helpful. So I don't do it for every meeting. So when I'm just doing a normal call, we do regular calls, I don't video. But when I'm trying to have a one-on-one with one of my employees, or if I'm mentoring someone, it really makes a difference to use video. So whether we use Teams, whether it's this GoToMeeting, Skype, whatever, I do think it's important to try to leverage video. I think it just helps, even when you're not in person, it helps have that personal connection. You can see me, I can see you, and things like that. So I do think that's one piece, is where possible, leverage the technology. I think a second piece of it is, just don't worry about how you meet the person. Just talk to the person. So yes, it would have been nice if, this past summer, we had this with a lot of interns. I normally would have, we have probably 100 interns for Honeywell Aerospace in Phoenix. I often would have, meet with a lot of them in my office at the site. We'd have 15 minutes meeting. I'd have lunch with different individuals. Okay, we couldn't do that, but that still didn't mean that I couldn't have a meeting with them and talk for 15 minutes, a phone call and things like that. So just as best as you can, don't let the current environment change that piece. Still have the conversations. The fact that it's virtual doesn't really matter in the end.
Wonderful, thank you. I like this question, this next question, because it's very practical and it comes from Victor. And the question asks, how can a new hire reach out to a very busy manager?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a couple of things to do. One is try to have some sort of regular cadence. So I think, for a lot of busy managers, they probably just follow what's on their calendar. I'm really busy, I have meetings all day, and I do this sometimes, but I'll generally show up to a meeting that's on my calendar if it's not a thing. So what's helpful is if your manager's really busy and you're not necessarily able to sort of have drop-in conversations or quick phone calls or IMs and stuff, have a standing meeting with them. Every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., I'm on the calendar. That may change, but if it changes, they're more likely to push it to 2 in the afternoon or change it to the next day versus canceling it. So I do think some regular rhythm just helps guarantee that you have it. The other thing I think you can do is to prepare for those. If you think you need 30 minutes, but you can only get 15 minutes, summarize stuff in advance. Send an email the night before. Hi, I'm looking forward to our quick meeting tomorrow. I just wanted to send you, here are the 5 things I want to go over, and that way they can make the discussion go faster. So those would be a couple of suggestions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Josh. And that actually wraps up all of our questions. Do you have any other parting words for our viewers today?
No, I really appreciate everyone's time. I think I wish you the best of luck as if you're looking for an internship or full-time hire. I do wish you the best of luck. I think, be confident. You're bringing a lot to whatever company you're going to, and then just hopefully this helps you, work to be successful as you join. But I appreciate the opportunity to talk to everyone. I am on LinkedIn, so if you do want to have any other questions you think of, by all means, you're welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much. Well, there you have it, Ship Familia. Please join me in thanking Josh on an outstanding webinar. Excellent tips for all of our members. Ship Familia, please remember to take our survey. You will receive a thank you email with the survey link after the webinar. We need your constructive feedback to make this better every time. We hope to see you October 14th for our next episode, How to Be Your Own Champion, where our subject matter expert will share about believing in yourself, recognizing the value within yourself, and advocating for what you want. Signing off from Ship National, buenas noches.